Today I'm going to show you guys the red trail and the red dot trail associated with it. This is by far the longest trail at the Tourne. The red trail itself is split into two distinct parts. The northwest portion, which we just accessed now, can be entered right at the upper west side parking lot. As you can see, the northwest part is about 2 miles long. The northwest portion of the trail will then reach Birchwood Lake, where you will travel on a gravel path along Birchwood Lake for about 0.2 miles. You'll then take a left onto the southeast portion of the red trail, which will travel for about 1 mile. And finally, the red dot portion splits off from the red trail and takes a left, and you can take this portion to the pavilion parking lot, whereas the red portion of the trail will continue traveling to the upper east side parking lot. In total, it's close to 3.5 miles. They recently updated this part of the red path. It used to travel farther into the woods and not so close to McCaffrey Lane. The Tourne is pretty deserted today, mainly because of the rain. And if it gets to be a heavy downpour, I may have to cut out some of the recording. But we shall see. In the past, I've talked about how the Tourne is great because it gives you short paths and long paths depending on your preference. The path we are on today is for experienced and hardcore hikers, not for the faint of heart. It will be a long hike today. A little over halfway through the northwest portion of the red trail is an overlook. It used to give you pretty good views of the surrounding neighborhood, and because some of the houses around here are quite large, it was kind of cool to look at. But as time passes on, a common theme you'll hear me talk about is that it gets more and more grown up around here, and some of the overlooks aren't quite as good as they used to be. Now, to stay on the red trail, we take a right here. If you take a left, you can link up with the teal trail. We are now crossing another path, and this is the pink path. Well, I'm now pleased to say that I have a new #1 video on my YouTube channel. My abandoned house video has officially overtaken my old chimney video as the most popular. We are now crossing the orange dot path. And we will be increasing in elevation to the lookout point I previously mentioned. One thing that I didn't take into account for this video is that I'm not quite sure if I have enough film to get through the entire red trail and red dot trail. I think I should have just enough battery power, but I may have to shut my GoPro off for a few of the non-eventful portions. So you can see a bench approaching ahead, and this is the second highest part of the Tourne, right here. But again, it's so overgrown that you really can't see much. I mean, through those bushes that didn't used to be that overgrown, you could see for a while all the large houses around here, and it was a pretty good view, but now it's hard to see much of anything. Anyway, we're a little over halfway through the northwest portion of the red trail. As we start getting closer to Birchwood Lake, we will be decreasing dramatically in elevation. And the rain is starting to pick up. We could be headed for a downpour pretty soon. So in the distance you can kind of hear goldfinches congregating. Dozens, maybe even close to hundreds of them. During the springtime, when there's a lot of rain at this point, this little valley here becomes a small pond. But eventually, by the time you get to the middle of July, it all dries up. To the left here is the purple trail. To stay on the red trail, however, just keep going straight and then take a right here. If you go forward, you link up with the purple dot trail, which will take you to Birchwood Lake, but we want to stay on the red portion. There's actually a small stone wall around here. I discovered it this past winter, and I was convinced before I did further exploration of the stone walls around here that it was a part of just a large stone wall structure that went through the center of the entire Tourne. So I was making this awesome plan that one day I was going to go on this massively long, amazing, epic hike of 3 or 4 miles through the middle of the woods and follow the entirety of this stone wall. And so I scouted it out, and the stone wall was literally 20 yards long. I didn't look at it closely when I first discovered it. I just assumed it went through the whole Tourne. I'm not exactly Magellan or Columbus, folks, but I do the best I can. Now up ahead, you can either go straight or you can take a left. Both of these paths will eventually lead to Birchwood Lake. However, I think this portion is officially marked as a red trail and this portion isn't marked. But either way, they both do lead to Birchwood Lake. I think since this is marked and this is officially a red trail video, we'll just stay on the marked path. Up ahead, we are approaching that stone wall I mentioned. Okay, actually I misspoke a little bit. It's not 20 yards. It's more like 50 yards actually. As you can see, if you look closely, it's sort of hilly terrain, rolling hills. And from the research I've done, settlers a long time ago, maybe 100, 150, 200 years, would allow their sheep to graze along the grassy hills here. Because these trees weren't here before, it was kind of just grassy, hilly terrain. Hence all the walls to enclose grazing pasture. I think this path here to the left is a side path that eventually links up with the purple dot trail, and if you keep following it, it kind of links up with that side trail I showed you guys that allows you to bypass the swampy part of the white trail. But I don't believe this means that the red trail also goes here. Just they have two identification marks and they both refer to going forward here, if I'm not mistaken. Now up ahead, you want to take a left. If you take a right, you take a sort of side path that goes along Birchwood Lake. There are two different paths that you can take along the lake. One closer to the lake that eventually ends up at the beach, and another walk around path that goes farther back into the woods. And now we are coming to the end of the northwest portion of the red trail. Stay tuned for part 2, where I will show you guys the red trail that goes along Birchwood Lake, the southeast portion of the red trail, and then the red dot path.